Hello, thanks for stopping by. This is The Room 3, developed by Fireproof Games and released in 2015 for iOS. It was then ported to PC, and I grabbed it off of Steam. It was designed for tablet use, but it's mostly doable with a controller. I say mostly because there are going to be a few puzzles that really are a stretch with a controller. Definitely a mouse or a touchscreen would be easier. My preferred method actually is just to play on the Steam Deck, using a mix of a controller and the touchscreen. This is the third in the Room series, and I finished Room 2 a month or so back. I wanted to jump on this one right away. I was kind of enjoying the experience. We have an elaborate puzzle game that continues the story of the prior game, but the truth is, the story isn't really important to solving these puzzles. This has a gothic backdrop, and although it's not something that I'd consider outright scary, it's definitely developed to give you a bit of a creepy vibe. The story of the last game, as best I can remember it, was you escaping the home of somebody with the initials of A and S. And here, you start the game on a train, and as you go through puzzles, you start finding notes from somebody called the Craftsman. He or she seems to be the person pulling the strings. And there's also some other dimensional type of stuff going on, but it's not really clear as to what actually is happening here. So I play this with some general ignorance as to what the story is. They keep it vague, but I'm also not digging too deep to try to understand. I'm just enjoying getting through these puzzles. The game mechanics are from a first-person point of view, and you are in a room somewhere trying to identify and solve whatever the puzzles are in front of you. There are going to be boxes, tables, and various objects that somehow were turned into puzzles. Things are going to open, close, turn, twist, and reveal objects for you to take. If you take an item, it has a purpose somewhere. It's a key of some type, and it's going to help you progress another puzzle forward. The one difference that I experienced with this game that feels noteworthy compared to prior ones is that in some cases you can actually backtrack through various rooms. Before, in the earlier games, it really was more like you felt like you had to do a complete puzzle, and then you would leave that room, and I don't think you'd go back. Here, you actually might have to navigate back and forth through rooms, things you've already moved through. It's a difference that I think you're probably going to notice if you had played the other games first. All objects that you find go into your inventory, but they also usually have a very direct use. And that's probably the only real criticism I have for this game. It seems to me that most of the items you find have an almost immediate use, and your inventory never fills up completely. You're going to get one, maybe two items, and then you're going to probably use those items really quick. Or at least I do. This isn't one of those games that you fill up your inventory with a bunch of useless items, and that kind of feels like a lost opportunity to me. I like the puzzle games that let you take a ton of things and make you fumble through your inventory to try and find the right solution. You're going to have tons of stuff left over at the end. I like that. That helps me scramble. But here, it doesn't seem to be that way. There is a hint system, and it seems to be turned on by default. And it's definitely useful if you get stuck, but I try to not use it unless I'm really having problems. The truth is that everything you need is going to be in front of you somewhere. And if you get stuck, you just kind of got to look a little deeper. All of the buttons, all the levers, and all the objects, they're there. They're never really far away. You just have to look at them and find them. Like the earlier games, you do have an eyepiece that you can put on from time to time, and it'll let you see hidden symbols and text. It's just an extra variable that they add to the mix. If you find yourself struggling, just toggle it on and off to see if there's something there. It might help. I think the graphics are great. I mean, they're crisp, they're clean. The music, they're fine. It's a type of a game that you could actually listen to external music while you play, and you could get through the game without really needing to listen to whatever's going on. It's definitely more creepy if you can listen to the sounds and the music, of course, but the game here, I think, is really more about the visuals and the interesting mechanics of manipulating these in-game objects. These definitely aren't real-world puzzles that we're looking at, but they're unique, and they're certainly fun to manipulate to figure out how they need to open and be solved. The camera angles are limited, and when you play with a controller, it's going to feel maybe even a little more limiting as you try to navigate your view around. On the Steam Deck, using the touchscreen, it is far easier to control. Like I said, it's the third game I've played in the series, and I do expect to get through all of these at one point or another. I enjoy what they're doing here. It's an interesting puzzler, and it's not a high-pressure situation that we're dealing with. There's no timer pushing you forward, No one is hanging from a ledge waiting to be rescued. It's just comfortable that way. I think this release definitely feels more elaborate than the prior games I've played in the series. You're not just in one room, you're going to have to retrace your steps, and the puzzles do feel more elaborate. Backtracking through those rooms, it's a level of difficulty I kind of wasn't expecting, because I think if you put the game down for any length of time, you might forget where things are located, and it might take you a little longer to get back in order. You might need to remember that there's a door that you couldn't get through 3 rooms over. I guess in that regard, perhaps it's a little easier to play if you try to play it continuously. The second chapter in this game was the place that really stood out for me. At first, anyway. It just felt more elaborate than I was expecting. I had the hints turned off, and it took me longer to get through than I figured it would take. There were just a lot of things to find and uncover. Certainly more than I had expected going into the game. I think The Room 3 is a solid release in the series, and although I honestly have little idea of what is actually going on in the story at this point, I do enjoy all this puzzle manipulation, and I enjoy it enough to move on to the next one. Well, that is all I have today for The Room 3 for PC. Thanks for stopping by for a look, and I hope to catch you on another video.